Hi, this is Katie. Today's video is going to be my first video in my Travel 101 series. A lot of you guys know I've been living out of this car on and off for the last 8 years at this point, and I've been living in it, sleeping in it, driving around the country, and I wanted to start a Travel 101 series talking to you guys about just everything that I've learned over these last 8 years, whether it's where to sleep, whether it's hygiene related, how to save money, like tons of stuff. And I wanted to make it into a series. I've talked about almost all this stuff before in like past videos from like years ago, but I wanted to record them now and then have them all in a little series, and I'm gonna put them in their own playlist. And so if you are like, oh, I remember Katie talking something about food, but I can't remember, or something about where she likes to sleep, but I can't remember, I'm gonna have all these in their own Travel 101 playlist. There's gonna be, I don't know, 7 or 8 videos, 10, 4, I don't know, several videos on this topic. And it's going to be every single Tuesday for the next, month or two, talking about Travel 101. So if you are considering living in your car, if you're considering going on a long road trip, if you're considering traveling alone, I really hope that you stick around, make sure that you're subscribed and click the notification bell so you are notified when these videos come up. And I hope that you guys enjoy these videos because I'm really gonna be giving you like all the tips and tricks and advice that I have learned over the years of me traveling like this. So yeah, today's video is going to be mindset. You guys know, if you guys have been watching me for a while, you know that mindset is so important to me because you can have all the things that you need to do something, but if you don't think you can do it, if you don't think you're ready to do it, if you're talking yourself out of it, then you're not ever going to be able to do it. You're not going to. So you can have the money, you can have the car, you can have the big van that you've already renovated, that word. You can have a buddy who wants to go with you. You can have a trip planned out. But if your mindset is off, it's not going to work out correctly. It's just not. And so I wanted to make this like first video in the Travel 101 series about mindset. And I know that some of you guys might be like, oh, I don't care. I want to just know where she sleeps and how she eats. Those videos will come up, I promise, but I really hope that you watch this video. I really, really think that this is one of the most important parts about reaching any goal, making any decision, doing any type of lifestyle change, especially doing anything that's outside the norm. Like I would say, living in a car and traveling the world or traveling the country is not necessarily within the norm. And so if you're doing anything out of the norm, your mindset has to be a little different. And so I wanted to make this video first to discuss this briefly, because it's so important. It's so important. If your mindset's messed up, then your trip or your lifestyle or your goal might not work out the way that you want to. And so I did take notes. I do have some notes on my phone. So I'm gonna be looking a little bit at my phone and then looking at you guys because you guys are beautiful and I wanna stare at you. So even though I can't see you, but like I know that you're beautiful, you know what I mean? Like I know that you are. So I wanna look at you. With any goal, okay? With any goal, the decision to do it and then the first couple steps are the hardest part, the absolute hardest part. But I truly believe that if you deep down really want something, again, no matter what the goal is, but this goal that we're talking about is living in your car, traveling, going on a road trip, traveling by yourself. That's the one that we're gonna be talking about. But this like advice or this kind of mindset training could go to any goal. But if your decision is, I want to go on a month-long road trip, if you really want to do it, you'll find a way to do it. If you don't really want to do it, you'll find excuses to not do it. That's one of like my favorite quotes that I've heard. Like, if you really want it, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. And I believe that that is so true. Because some people are like, oh, well, I really, really wish I could travel. I wish I could do this. I wish I could live like you do. I hear that all the time. Wish I could live like you do. Oh, I'm so jealous. Oh, you're so lucky. I hear that stuff all the time. And I think a lot of it is complete crap, honestly. I'm not lucky. This took a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication and a lot of focus. And I think that if someone's jealous of something, it's either their ego getting in the way or because they actually do want to do it or because they think it sounds cool. And it's the same with a lot of people saying, I wish I could do that. Either you want to and you're gonna find a way to do it, or maybe you don't really want to. And you just think it sounds cool, you think it looks cool, you think the final version looks cool, but you're not willing to put the work in. And I think it's really important to recognize that. I think one of the most important things that we can do in our whole lives is be aware of what we're thinking, be aware of what we're doing, be aware if what we're doing lines up with what we're thinking, and be aware of what we're saying. If I'm saying every single day, I wish I could travel, then why the heck am I not traveling? Seriously, like if you're gonna say something like that, then either figure out, okay, something's stopping me. Is it fear? Is it societal expectations? Is it my friends and my family thinking that I'm crazy for making this decision? Is it that I'm just scared? You know, is it that? Or is it that you really don't want to do it? You just think it sounds cool to say you want to do it. It's super important to be honest with yourself. It's so important because honestly, I would say most people are the latter. Most people just think that saying, oh, I would love to travel like you do. A lot of people just think that sounds cool. I mean, it is cool. I like it. But they think it sounds cool, but they would never really want to do it. But if you keep saying, I wish, I wish, I wish, and you don't really want to do it, you're tricking your brain. You're confusing your brain, really. And so for the people who have been saying, I wish, I wish, I wish, and you really do wish, you really, really do, then you're in this former group. And then it's important to take that next step and think, okay, why haven't I done it yet? Is it fear? Is it societal expectations? Is it excuses that I think are real reasons, but they're really not, like money, like I don't know how to do this. Sometimes money can be a real reason, but sometimes it's not. Just letting you guys know, like sometimes it's not. If you're in this former group, you really, really, really need to figure out why you haven't done it yet. If you know that you want it, if you truly know that you want it, you have to figure out why you haven't done it yet. And again, it's gonna be different for everyone, but a lot of it I think would be fear-based. And a lot of it, I think, would be societal expectations based. And you kind of maybe don't know, like, how to move past that. You might have just, for most of your life, followed everyone else or done what was expected of you. But you have something, this is what happened to me. I just followed what was expected of me, and I was fine with that. Like, I was totally fine with that. But then in my mid-20s, I was like, something feels off. Something feels off. And I prayed about it. And I knew that God was telling me to go travel more, to go do something different, that I was not meant for a typical life. Some people are, and some people thrive in a 9-to-5, having a family, buying a house. Some people thrive in that, and that's incredible. But if you know that it's not for you, then it's always so good to find out what is for you. And that takes a lot of trial and error. It will take a lot of time. It will take some money sometimes, and it will take a switch of focus. But it's so important to figure out what you truly want, and not just like on a surface level, whatever, but like really what you think God wants for you, what you think is best for you and the people that you are taking care of, and how you think you can benefit out of life and how you think you can benefit other people in the best way. And so if you are thinking about this and you're like, you know what, I do think travel sounds cool, but I do not want to put any effort into it, then that's fine. You're in this group over here, and that's totally fine. It's fine, and it's actually incredible to be able to admit that. I think a lot of things sound cool, but I would never actually want to do them, you know? Like I think being like, what's the kind of engineer that builds bridges? Structural engineer? I think building a bridge sounds so cool, but I don't think I'd ever really want to do it. So I'm not saying or thinking every day, I want to go build a bridge, I want to go build a bridge. Because if you don't actually want something, but you think it sounds cool, so you keep telling yourself that you want it, you're really, really, really going to mess up your brain. That type of thinking and focus is so important to figure out what you actually want, to figure out if you actually are going to put the effort in. And if you're like, you know what, I kind of do want this, but I don't want to put the effort in, then stop focusing on it. You have to stop focusing on it. It's going to mess up your brain. So again, if you're in this group and you're like, I do want to travel, I know that I want to travel. Maybe it's you just want to start traveling on weekends because you love your day job during the week. That's great. Maybe you are working online now, working from home now. I only put this in quotes because you can work from home from different places usually, if you have a laptop and stuff. Not all the time, but usually you can work from home, from your car, from a library, whatever's open now. I know now is a little confusing with certain things. But if you started your own business, if you saved up money and you're not working right now and you're like, you know what, I do want to go on the road for like 2 weeks. If you're over here and you're like, I really, really, really do want to do this, first of all, that's awesome. Because reaching any goal, again, even if you're over here and you're like, travel's not for me, but I do have a goal of writing a song in my life. That's awesome. But I really hope that you take the steps to go do it and not just continuously tell yourself, I wish, I wish, I wish, and then not chasing after it. Because if you really wish, if you really want, if you really desire, if you really think that it's what's best for you, what's right for you, the way that you can use God's gifts, then I hope that you're doing it. I hope that you're taking those first few steps to do it. And so like I said, making the decision is one of the hardest parts. And then making those first few steps is an equally difficult part. Because once you're in it, usually you realize it's easier than you thought. It's less stressful than you thought. Not all the time, but usually it's easier, less stressful, more fun. If it's something that's right for you, you'll know. Something that's meant for you, made for you, that God wants you to do, you'll know. And so, all right, let me see what other notes I have. All right, I'm looking at my notes. Yeah, I wrote down, if you want it, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. Seriously, it's one of my favorite sayings. And it's such a good way to actually know if you want something or not. Because you might even say, I want to lose 10 pounds, but then you might be like, oh, but if you say that but afterwards, then maybe you just don't want it as badly as you think you do. But if you keep focusing on it, then it's gonna hurt your brain when you're not chasing after it. So either chase after it or get it out of your brain. That's really what it is. Either chase after it or get it out of your brain. What else? Yeah, so I wrote down, stop saying I wish, I'm jealous, or they're lucky. No. People who have already reached their goal made a decision and put time, effort, and money into following that goal. It's not luck. There are a couple things that are luck, but almost everything is preparation mixed with opportunity. So you can say, oh, it's so lucky that I won the lotto. You still went and bought that lotto ticket. You know what I mean? You can say it's lucky that I got this job or whatever, but you still were qualified for the job. You still went to the interview. You still looked for that job. A lot of people, when they say that person's lucky, what they're really saying is, I don't want to put in the work to get what they have. It's too hard. It's too scary. It's too confusing. A lot of people, when they say you're so lucky, what they're really saying is, I want what you have, but I'm not willing to do what you did to get there. And so again, a lot of living the life that you want is a lot of this focus, a lot of this mindset, a lot of this, I'm going to put the work in. Life is about work. You know what? Life is going to be difficult and confusing no matter what you do. If you follow the crowd, your life is still gonna be hard. It's still going to be hard. So you might as well have a difficult life living a life that you actually really, really want. I also wrote, don't let fear stop you. You guys know how much I talk about fear. One of my good friends, Gabriel, who I'm sure you guys seen on here, Solo Sinclair. He hasn't posted in a while, but he has great videos. But one of his favorite quotes is, feel the fear and do it anyway. Because just because you're afraid of something does not mean that you're not supposed to do it. Usually if you're like, oh, I'm afraid to start this job, I'm afraid to get into this relationship, I'm afraid. Usually, not always, usually it's because, you know what, that actually could be good for me and I'm scared of the change. Usually what you're scared of is change or failing, but we have to fail. You have to fail in order to ever succeed. You have to. You have to learn. You have to fail. Sometimes people are afraid of success, which is also, again, just a fear of change. But if you want something badly enough, there's going to be change. And again, your life is going to change anyway. There's a lot of things in our lives that we can't even control that change our lives. Life's going to change anyway. So again, you might as well control what you can, focus on what you can, fix what you can, switch what you can to be living the life that you want and that you think God wants for you. So the fear does not mean don't do it. Sometimes it does, but usually it doesn't. Usually just means there's a change in your life. And again, if that change is worth it to you, if you're really aware of it, being self-aware is the most important trait. And it's hard to teach, it's hard to learn, but it's so important to be aware of your mistakes, to be honest with yourself, to take responsibility for your actions, to put effort in to say, oh wow, I messed up, how can I change? All these things are, you know, being self-aware. It's so hard, but so important to actually live the life that you want. And to make sure that, again, you could even go on the road for a month because you think it's what you want and you do it and you're like, nah, I'm glad I did, but I didn't really like it. And then maybe you go get an accounting job and you're like, you know what, I love this. So it's not that you can't follow the crowd and it's not that you shouldn't follow the crowd. It's that you should do what you know is best for you. Sometimes it's gonna be what everyone else does. It's like pizza's delicious and almost everyone agrees. So it's not like you have to be like, well, everyone likes pizza, so I don't like pizza. No, It's just make sure that you've tasted pizza to know that you like it. Don't just like it because everyone else likes it. Like it because you've had it and you know you like it. So you don't have to have a 9-to-5 because everyone else has one, but you also don't need to run away from a 9-to-5 because everyone else has one and you want to be different. You need to find what's best for you. And it takes a lot of trial and error. It takes a lot of change. But it's worth it. Wow, it's so worth it. It's so worth it. I also wrote in here, don't let society, your family, your friends, and your own insecurities stop you. Because sometimes we can just think, I can't do that. I can't do what that person's doing. Or sometimes your family or your friends are gonna say that to you. You can't do that. Don't let that stop you. You're stronger than that. You're better than that. You're more capable than that. You're more capable than people telling you that you can't do something that you know innately you want to do. Okay, 2 more little things about the mindset for travel and whatever. One is that you cannot wait for other people. I saw something the other day, there was like a picture of, I don't know, Ryan Gosling or something on Instagram eating at a table at a restaurant and he looked like he was alone. Maybe he was, maybe they photoshopped it, I don't know. But what the caption said is like, go to that restaurant alone, go to that movie alone, travel alone, whatever. Because sometimes if you want to do something, again, like travel, since that's what we're talking about, this is travel 101 right here. If you want to travel, if you want to go on a road trip and you're like, oh, I want to, but nobody wants to go with me, go by yourself. Go by yourself. I'm gonna have one whole video dedicated to traveling alone, and then I'm gonna mention it throughout the rest of my videos in the Travel 101 series, because most of my travel I've done alone. Most of my travel I've done alone since my mid-20s. I would say at least 85% of my travel, of my driving around the country, of my sleeping in the car, all that stuff, at least 85% I've done alone. And it's fun doing things with other people. Sometimes sharing those experiences can be incredible, can be absolutely incredible, sharing those experiences, doing things with other people. But if you really want to do it, you cannot wait for someone else. You can't. You have to do it for you. And again, it's a little bit different. If you're like, oh, I like going on vacations about once a month and I like to go with my friends, then that's fine, that's great. But it's more if you know something is best for you, if you know you really, 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 really want to do something and no one around you wants to do it alone. Because there's also so many things that you're gonna learn when you travel alone, or even when you go to restaurants alone or anything like that. There's so much that you're gonna learn that you wouldn't learn if you traveled with someone else. And it's vice versa as well. There's certain things that you would learn with other people that you wouldn't learn alone. But man, traveling alone, like, you know, it gets lonely and stuff sometimes, and some things are a little bit more difficult, but wow, you learn how capable you are real quick. Like I've locked my keys in my car when I was alone. I've slept in this car in truck stops hundreds of times alone. I've gone out to eat alone. I've gone to baseball games alone. Like, and you can still enjoy life without other people. And I know that it's really good to have a community, it's really good to have people around, but it does not mean that you have to do everything with other people. You can learn and you can thrive and you can have so much fun doing things alone. And so don't just wait. Don't wait for anything. Don't wait for other people, but also don't wait for the time to be right, because there's no such thing. There's a couple times, again, most of this is not 100% of the time. Most of these are rules, but there are exceptions. But most of the time, there is no right time. Most of the time, saying I'm gonna wait until is just an excuse. Sometimes it's, I want to work for 3 months and then I'm gonna quit my job and then I'm gonna go travel. That's different. Maybe I want my kid to grow up in the same place. So then maybe during summers we'll travel, or maybe when they graduate I'll travel, or something like that. There are certain things that if you want a certain scenario, it's okay to wait. It's okay to wait, but make sure that you actually want that scenario and you're not just saying it as an excuse. There's a drastic difference between excuses and reasons. Reasons are like, I can't go to the movies today because I just broke my foot and I'm in the hospital. And an excuse is, well, I went to the movies yesterday. You know, like you can kind of tell within yourself if it's an actual reason or if it's an excuse. And the excuses usually are based on just, you don't want to, and that's okay if you don't want to do something, that's totally fine. But the excuses also sometimes are based on fear, based on confusion, based on being overwhelmed, based on societal expectations, things like that. But don't wait for other people and don't wait for the right time, because you'll be waiting forever. You'll be waiting forever. Again, there are some examples where there is a better time, but if you're just waiting for the right time, you're gonna be waiting forever. You need to decide it for yourself. Again, there are certain actual reasons that make waiting appropriate or smart or better for you. And a lot of that time it's because maybe you don't want to. Maybe you want to wait till next year. Maybe you want to do something, you know? But if you're letting that, oh, I should wait until this, a lot of times if you do that, you might say I'm gonna wait until I save $10,000, right? And then, you know, several months or a year or two go by and you save that $10,000. If it's an excuse, you'll know very easily, because when that happens, you might be like, oh wait, maybe I should say 15. You'll just keep making excuses. If it's an excuse, you'll generally be able to know because you'll keep making more excuses. And also one of my favorite, Gary Vaynerchuk, such a good like inspirational businessman. One of my favorite quotes that he has is, you'll know it's an excuse, again, versus a reason. A reason is like an actual reason, but an excuse is more fake, kind of, to like get you out of something. But one of Gary V's quotes is something like, you'll know it's an excuse when someone in your exact situation is reaching the exact goal you want. And so one of the things that I always talk about is there are some people who say, I don't want to travel right now because I have children. And that's my reason. I'm not traveling because I have children. That alone is not a reason. If the reason is, and I don't want them to be on the road, or, and I want them to be in the same school all year, or, and I want to travel alone, but I obviously can't because I have children, so I'm gonna wait until they graduate, or something like that, then that's a reason. But you know that just saying I have kids is not a reason, because there are people who travel with kids. And so just saying I have kids so I can't travel, that's an excuse. But again, if there's another step or two, I have kids and I want them to stay in the same school, then that's a reason. Do you guys know what I mean? Like, you can kind of tell if someone else is doing what you want to be doing with your same excuse of a situation, then that means it's an excuse, not a reason. And so think deeper. Think, well, am I saying I have kids so I can't travel because I want to use that as an excuse because I really don't want to travel or I'm scared to travel? Or is it, oh, you know what? No, I have kids and I want them to be in the same school. Or, you know, like their mom and I are divorced and she lives in town and I really want to keep the kids near their mom. So I don't want to take the kids and I also don't want to go without the kids. That's the reason. Sometimes you have to think of a couple levels deeper than your initial thought. That's with anything in life. Sometimes you have to think of maybe not why, but the why of the why. So I don't want to travel. Why? Because I have kids. Okay, well, why don't you want to travel because you have kids? Because, again, that by itself is not exactly a reason. So if it's because they're really young and my family is split up and I want them to be able to see their other parent because we have joint custody and I don't want to take them with me, that's a reason. If it's because they are in school right now and they love their school and I do not want to take them out of school because them being in a school that they love is more of a priority, that's the reason. But if you think of the, I don't want to travel because I have kids, and then the next why, and you can't think of anything else, then it's probably an excuse. So I hope that that makes sense of that difference and thinking of the why of the why. And sometimes you got to go the why of the why of the why. Sometimes you got to go several layers deep of why to really figure out, again, this is with any goal. This is with any goal, any decision you want to make, thinking of the why of the why of the why of the why can be really, really helpful. And so last thing that I want to mention, which I've mentioned 1,000 times, so I will not stay here long, is priorities. And this kind of goes in with the excuse and reason stuff, because if your priority is to keep your kids home in school, then that's great. That's great. Then maybe if travel is your next priority, then maybe you can think, okay, maybe we can travel in the summer. Or maybe in a few years, I'll think about homeschooling them, or, you know, but I want them to be in this school right now. It's about priorities. So travel is your #1 priority. If you were in that group over here that I was mentioning earlier, if travel is your #1 priority, then you will find a way to do it. But if it's not, you'll find excuses not to do it. And then again, if you don't want to do it, stop telling yourself that you do. It's just going to confuse your brain. And it's going to take up too much space in your brain when you can actually focus and prioritize things that you really do want or need, or that are best for you, that you know God wants from you or for you to do. You can prioritize other things. Priorities are so important. And you can learn a lot about your priorities. Sometimes they're subconscious based on what you spend your time doing. Some of us, our subconscious priority is distraction on our phone scrolling through Instagram. That is some of our subconscious priorities. But if you really sit down and think about it, or stand up or run around and think about it, and you're like, you know what? I want my priority to be learning. I want to read a book a week. I want my priority to be, I want to be able to be on the road and start traveling by February 1st. Okay, great. Also, you guys know a lot of goals like that, I say do it as quick as possible. Because if you're like, oh, I'll travel when I retire, you might never retire. You might not even want to travel by the time you retire. If you want to do something and it's a priority now, do it as soon as you can. Do it as soon as possible. So it does take some planning, but do it as soon as possible. If it's really your priority, treat it like a priority. And if not, if we don't focus on what our priorities really are, our subconscious will decide them for us. And then again, you'll spend 10 hours a day scrolling on Instagram. I've done that. I've done that. Because my priorities for the day or for the week or for the year were not focused on. And so I know that I said I was gonna make this video short. It's not. But I just think that all this mindset, this priority, this excuses versus reasons, I think all these things are so important with any goal, especially one that is a little more unique. Like I wanna go on a really long road trip and I wanna sleep in my car. I think that focus, that priority, that decision is so important because you are gonna get backlash? You are gonna, backlash? What word am I thinking of? You are gonna have people tell you that you're wrong. You are gonna have people make fun of you. You are gonna have people be like, ugh, you like doing that? I had someone tell me today, wait, don't you wanna just like settle down? And I'm like, no. There are gonna be people who tell you that you shouldn't do it. There are gonna be people who say, no, you'd be happier in a house. There are gonna be people who tell you everything that is opposite of you because they don't understand you. Not everyone's gonna understand you, especially when you make decisions that are opposite of the norm. And I would argue that living in your car on purpose to drive around the country is kind of opposite of the norm. There are gonna be societal pressures that try to talk you out of it. There are going to be your family and friends who try to talk you out of it. But again, if you know it's right for you, if you're not hurting anyone else, if you're not just like running away from your responsibilities, if you're taking care of what you have to do, but you are also doing what you really know you want to do and what God wants you to do as well, you have to really have your mind set on doing this. Otherwise, all those voices could potentially get you down and could potentially make you change your mind. So you have to like really be set. No, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. I'm not gonna let anyone stop me. You have to actually make that decision, actually make it a priority and be like, this is what I'm doing. Because there might even be certain times in your life, depending on your goal, depending on whatever, that nobody is on your side, that nobody's on your team, that nobody believes in you but you. And me, I believe in you. But there are gonna be times that nobody else does. And it could be about your whole life, it could be about one decision you made, it could be about one goal that you're trying to reach. I've had people in the past insinuate or just tell me like that my goals are silly. Or that, oh, I would never do that. Or, oh, you can't do that. It's like, well, maybe you can't because you don't want to. I think really the only time you can't do something is if you've already decided that you can't. I can't remember who said it, but there's that quote of whether you think you can or can't, you're right. That's what all this mindset stuff is. If you truly believe I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't do that, then you probably won't be able to because you'll talk yourself out of it. You won't actually put in the work and the time and the money sometimes that it takes to actually do it. But if you think I can do this, you'll be more focused. You have it as a priority. You'll be more likely to put in all that work. Because there's a lot of things that we see that the goal looks so cool. There's a lot of work. To hit most goals, there's a lot of work. But a lot of people don't show all that behind the scenes work. You know, like we'll see like a famous basketball player. It's like, wow, that's so cool, I wanna do that. Well, she probably started when they were 3 years old and practiced 7 hours a day. And so a lot of things take discipline, take work, take time, take effort. And if you're not willing to put in all of that work and time and effort and discipline, and you don't think you're gonna do it, then you probably are not going to. So if you want to reach that goal, there's going to be a lot of effort that you have to put in. All I'm saying is that whatever you want to do, you can do it. And it might look a little bit different than someone else doing it. It might look different than how I'm doing it. It might even look different than how you imagined it. But you got to keep going. And you really have to just believe that you can do it. Just believe that you can do it. But it takes more than the belief because you actually have to put in all the effort and all the work and all the time. But I know that you can do it if it's what you really want. And so if you keep thinking, I want to travel, I want to travel, I want to travel, that first step is decide if you really want to or you think it just sounds cool. Because if you really just think it sounds cool, get that idea out of your head. Focus on something else that you actually do want and that you are willing to put in the effort into. But if you really do want it, and you've just realized you've made some excuses, you've let fear stop you, you've let society stop you, make that mindset shift. You can do it. I literally was someone who was afraid of driving until my early 20s. I was someone who I thought I was gonna get married in my early 20s, live in the same house the rest of my life. That's who I was when I was younger. But then in like my mid-ish 20s, maybe even a little earlier, I was like 23, 24, I was like, no, that is not the life that I want. And I made the change. And I know that if I can do it, you can do it. But you have to make it your priority, you have to make it your focus, and you have to be willing to put the work in. So that is all I'm gonna talk about today. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Again, mindset is so important. It is the first step to reaching any goal, to doing anything that you wanna do in your life. Your mindset is the first thing that you have to focus on. And so I hope that you guys really got something out of this video. I really hope that you learned something. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please make sure that you're subscribed and click the notification bell and follow me on Instagram as well. Every Tuesday for the next month or two, I'm going to have more Travel 101 videos. This is the only mindset one. I'm probably gonna talk about it here and there in the other videos, but I am gonna talk about hygiene. I'm gonna talk about where to sleep. I'm gonna talk about food. I'm gonna talk about budgeting. I'm gonna talk about every detail that I can think of just to really help you guys, really help you guys, because I know that it can be overwhelming. Deciding on any life change can be so overwhelming. And so I want to make these videos in hopes that it'll just be a little bit easier for you, because I did not have that for me. I learned all of this by myself, or maybe with some friends that I was traveling with, but I did not watch YouTube videos. I did not read any books. I did not consult anyone. I learned all of this from actually doing it. And so I really hope that you guys enjoy all these upcoming videos. And just thank you guys so much for watching. And I guess that's it. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. I love you, Jesus loves you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.